My child completely ignores everything I say. If you've ever thought this, then stay tuned because that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm Dana Kay. Welcome to the ADHD Thrive Institute YouTube channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, do that now. We release new content several times each week, and by subscribing, you'll guarantee that you'll never miss a single video. Now, on to today's topic. Have you ever felt ignored by your child with ADHD? I know I have. One mum told me recently that she felt invisible in her own home because of how often her child with ADHD seemed to ignore her. I have talked to so many parents who felt the same way. Can you relate? I know that I can, and I know that a lot of people that I talk to can as well. Now, I remember feeling this way when my son was really struggling with his ADHD symptoms as well. Parenting a child with ADHD is tough and can easily lead to tension and conflict in the home. Children with ADHD struggle with working memory, listening skills, and comprehension, and they are also easily distracted and have a hard time focusing on something, especially if they don't find that something interesting. It makes sense then that children with ADHD would struggle with listening. But is it possible there are other reasons a child might struggle with listening to his or her caregivers? Reasons that have nothing to do with ADHD and everything to do with patterns that the family has developed. That's what I want to share with you today. 3 possible reasons a child might not listen to his or her caregivers that has absolutely nothing to do with ADHD. Now, I do want to share a caveat though. Okay. I'm not saying the caregiver is to blame for the child's failure to listen. Blaming ourselves really does absolutely nothing to improve the situation. Many caregivers of children with ADHD are way too hard on themselves already, so please don't take these as criticisms. Rather, use them as reminders moving forward. Cut yourself some slack, seriously. If you've made mistakes, forgive yourself and do better. When you know better, you do better. Now, without further ado, the 3 reasons your child might not listen to you. Number 1, their priorities are totally different than yours. Children with ADHD, well, actually, all children have different priorities than their caregivers. We care about the laundry and the messes in the house. They don't. As caregivers, it's important to remind ourselves that they aren't bad for not caring about the things that we care about. They simply have different priorities than we do. Now, that doesn't mean they get a free pass on messes or laundry, but understanding where they're coming from can be really helpful. Number 2, they have learned that they don't have to pay attention to us until we yell. Ouch. Really. This was me years ago when my son's ADHD symptoms were at their worst, and before I learned how to talk to my children without yelling, they had learned that I wasn't really serious until I yelled. So, in turn, they didn't need to listen until I started yelling. Have you unintentionally created an environment where your kids now know they don't have to listen until you yell at them? Seriously, no judgment here because this used to be me for sure. What I want you to know today is this: it is 100% possible to change this pattern. I've done it, and I know that you guys can too. Number 3, they can listen, or they can't listen because they don't have the necessary skills yet. Is it possible that what you're asking them to do, they aren't yet capable of doing? I love how Dr. Ross Green focuses on lagging skills in neurodiverse children. Sometimes our children aren't ignoring us, but are instead incapable of completing the tasks we have asked them to do. Start paying close attention to when your child doesn't listen and look for patterns. Maybe you're asking them to do 3 things at once and their minds aren't yet capable of processing that many tasks at the same time. Or maybe you're asking them to do something that feels too big for them, too overwhelming. Can you break the task up into smaller chunks and ask for one thing instead of 3? Think through the instances where your child doesn't listen and ask yourself if any of these 3 reasons could be contributing factors. And as always, if my team and I can support you in this process, we're totally happy to help. One last thing I did want to share with you is our ADHD Thrive Jumpstart for Parenting online program. Last year, we joined forces with a licensed child and family therapist who has over 15 years of experience working with kiddos with ADHD and other similar disorders. She helped us put together a parent training online course that is designed specifically for parents of children with ADHD. I'm going to pop the link into for this course into the description below, so definitely check this out if you'd like some additional support. That's it for today. I hope these tips are helpful, and remember, if you're not already, hit subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Until next time, I'm Dana Kay, your ADHD health practitioner.